So, this is just a conversation about mental health first aid training.
Right.
You've been an instructor for almost 8 years now, trained over 1,200 people in the room. So, I just wanted to ask a few questions. Why is this training more important than ever right now?
You know, it's a funny question because, last year I started feeling like it was becoming less relevant because we'd gotten the language right. We were seeing that people were talking about mental health, and I thought, great, we're finally there. This year it turned around and it's become one of our most popular services to deliver.
Yeah.
Because when it comes down to it, it's the thing that takes priority. And this is where that hope is, right?
Yeah.
Is that it's seen as, as mental health first aid certified training. It's seen as a valid, credible way of training up leaders, teams, whole of organizations to understand what is it that we can do to support one another in a pragmatic way.
Yeah.
And so I'm really surprised by it, but it's such a hopeful place to be in.
Yeah.
Of how it's been used and utilized within organizations.
Yeah. What do people usually expect? And then what actually surprises them when they're in the room with you?
They expect to, there's two aspects. So let's talk about it from those that are wanting to be there to care better for other people. So a lot of people expect that they're going to have the tools to be able to care more. And so let's talk about those people for a few moments because it's a really important place to be. What we come to understand, what they walk away with and they're quite surprised about, it's not about caring more, it's about caring differently.
Yeah.
And that the moment that we care for or on behalf of or fix, solve, rescue, hero, any of those, situations, we're actually crossing those other people's boundaries. We're actually potentially causing more harm, than good.
Yeah.
And so people are surprised that, they've found a way to care where they're not at harm as well.
Yes.
So it's this idea of being able to care well.
Yeah.
And, we talk about, a lot of the framing that I do and the lens that I always bring in to the situation is, our well-led system. It's that idea of care, yes, but it needs to come along with accountability as well as willingness.
Yeah.
And everyone who walks in the door is willing.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is great.
Yeah.
But it's making sure all of those are balanced. The other aspect, read me the question again. I want to make sure I frame this properly.
What do people usually expect and what actually surprises them?
Right. So they expect, when they're walking in and they're going to be an accredited mental health first aider, they expect to be able to know it all and have all of the answers. And this is always an interesting one. And I always frame it really clearly is that the beauty with ALGIE, which is the, action plan for MHFA, the beauty with ALGIE is that it's a toolkit for good humaning, and at no point in time are you in a position where you have to have someone else's answers. So they, walk away with this idea of, I don't have to have your solutions.
Yeah.
I'm not burdened with fixing, solving, being the one that cares and solves things for you. I don't have to have your answers. And I know those people when they walk out the door because there's this sense of relief that they walk away with of, oh, this isn't on me to fix. I now have a great action plan. I have a few particular resources and, websites that I can go to and my manual that I can go to and point out and go, hey, could this be a solution?
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. Do you find that people are having better conversations after they do the training?
Oh, absolutely. And I get emails about this and callbacks, as a result. And hey, Julie, can we do more, communications training? We want to really focus in on what you're talking about in these areas. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's not just better conversations about mental health, it's actually that preventative stuff, right? You know,
Yeah.
it's that, you know, checking in stuff. And I use this on repeat, like I would have to say it 100 times over 2 days, is that, hey, I can see there's a lot going on at the moment. What do you need?
Yeah.
You know, and keeping it that simple.
Yeah.
And I've walked past people that I've trained and I've heard them saying that, and I feel like giving out an absolute woohoo at that moment to just go, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what good looks like. And I hear a response, a legitimate, you know,
Yeah.
heartfelt response of, yeah, there's so much going on at the moment and I just need a bit of space, or whatever
Yeah,
the
yeah.
answer ends up being. But the person has their answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's really cool.
Yeah. Okay. Last question. What would you say to someone who is unsure if they should do their MHFA accreditation?
Oh, don't do it because someone's telling you should be in the room. That's always the wrong reason to be
Yeah.
there. I want you to look up what it actually means. So to be a mental health first aider, it means that you're in a similar position to someone who's a physical first aider.
Yeah.
There needs to be that willingness to turn up in spaces where people are, you know, hurting.
Yeah.
And so if you're okay with leaning into that discomfort, if you're really deeply curious about, you know, wanting to hold other people steady and having the tools and resources for that,
Yeah.
this is the perfect training. If you're the type of person that loves being in their own world and functioning, you know, in the way that they want to, and doesn't interact a lot with other people, and are deeply, deeply uncomfortable with, you know, pursuing those conversations, maybe mental health first aid isn't the right first step.
Yeah.
You know, there's plenty of other things that can be done first. I think, though, people who do feel that way about the world around them end up becoming some of the best mental health first aiders,
Yeah.
though.
Because they've done that pre-work generally
Because they-
before they step in the room.
And they're there because they want to be there. Don't come into the room if you don't want to be there.
Yeah. Willingness is everything.
Yeah, and you know, that openness,
Yeah.
you know, and curiosity about
Yeah.
it all. Because we
Yeah.
push and poke, you know,
Yeah.
that's part of it. So
Well, thank you very much for your time.
that's all right. Thank you.
Look forward to chatting soon.